Dig down. Howdy, howdy, howdy. How are y'all doing, guys? Welcome to episode 128 of Cliff Notes Live. I hope y'all are all doing fantastic this Monday evening. Let me start off with a big old SKD 143. I love my life. I love my life, but I also love my wife. I love my kids. I love reality fans. I love y'all guys who come out here and spend every Monday evening with me, and those of you who watch it on replay a little bit later. I hope y'all are doing fantastic. It's been a fun week. We'll talk about a few different things. Anything y'all want to talk about, as always, I'm pretty much open to whatever kind of discussions you want to have. I'll try to keep up with the comments as best as I can as I get going. I had a few weeks ago a little issue with my microphone. If y'all can't hear me or anything's weird about the way this is coming, let me know and I'll fix it instead of afterwards. All right, let's see as we do that. Let me go through and see who we've got out here before we get into a few different topics. All right, let's see. Right off the bat, Keith Franken. Keith, how you doing, sir? We'll talk about some of these comments here in a little bit. Marilyn Sutherland. Hey, Marilyn, how are you? Amanda Lowe. I love seeing all these names out here. Mark Taylor. Welcome, Mark. Welcome, Jake, as well. I hope y'all are all doing fantastic. Brian Hostetler out here as well. And let's see, Cindy. Hey, Cindy. I don't think I said your name earlier. Kiki. Hi, Kiki. How are you? Zachary. I saw some clips of Zachary playing golf. Let's see who else. I think that and Wyatt Garrett. Almost missed it. And Andy W. Yay, I made it. Yes, you did. You made it. Glad to have all y'all on board. Now, for those of you who, some of y'all may see the little teasers up on Instagram on our YouTube or such, but especially if you're watching this live, or if you're watching on replay, you can always sign up for my channel, turn on notifications. So whenever I'm getting ready to do a new YouTube show, you'll get the notifications as soon as I set it all up. And you can do a little thumbs up while you're at it as well. It's always appreciated. It's going to be fun. Yeah, it's funny because during the off season, Big Brother off season, and it is now off season. Big Brother Canada's over. Big Brother USA hadn't started. These shows are kind of freewheeling. We'll talk about whatever y'all want to talk about. Obviously, once we get into the summertime and Big Brother USA, we get a lot more Big Brother focused activity. A lot of people come out and do subscriptions and all that. But if you're signed up ahead of time, you get the notifications regardless of the timing for these shows and everything else. So there you go. All right. How's everyone doing before we get into a few notes that I took? Let me look at a few of these comments real quick. Just a second. We got our first one. Keith, your first one in. Talk about comment first. Last day of school is tomorrow. Congratulations, my friend. Graduating next Tuesday. Congratulations, Ma. You're graduating as well, right? I know we got a few graduates out there. Congratulations to all of y'all, wherever your paths may lead you. I'm so happy for y'all. Keith, you're going to be doing some baking, right? Which that sounds good. I didn't come to your house. You could use me as a guinea pig. I promise. But no, congratulations to all of y'all. And man, big world, beautiful world, just waiting to be conquered. Keith, I thought about you today because today is National Chocolate Chip Cookie Day, and tell me if I'm wrong. You're going to baking school, right? Otherwise, I'm just kind of rambling on. But chocolate chip cookies. I didn't make. Sharon made some chocolate chip cookies just to celebrate our day, and they are so good. We had chocolate chip cookies while we were in the house. I want to say it's just basic chocolate Chips Ahoy or something, but they had them for us in the house. They were dangerous, man. They had so much food, nothing except laying around the pool and eating all the food that they left in the cabinet, storage room for us, and everything else. So yeah, we fixed some chocolate chip today and enjoyed every bit of it. Now that's the problem. It's a little bit like Lay's potato chips or Pringles. Pringles or Lay's? Which one? You can't just eat just one. Well, chocolate chips are the same way. As soon as Sharon fixes them, I eat a few. I enjoy my sweets and such. I was in the house. We had a lot of chips and everything. I'm not as big into the chips and all that. I'm into the sweet stuff. That's my vice. So yeah, a fun day today for me. All right, what else do we have going on here? Mark Taylor saying, any word on the start of Big Brother 25? They're not leaking any info yet. Yeah, they're tight as a drum so far. I keep seeing some of the same rumors some of y'all see. That it could be an all-star season, which I'm still not buying. That it could be I don't know. What if I've seen first boots or early boots and things like that. And people, Julie Chen put out one or two little things promoting it, and people are trying to get teasers out of it. But I don't think we know yet. Were they supposed to release the TV schedule at some point? I haven't seen anything yet on it. I haven't been paying as much attention because I was still focused on Big Brother Canada. But now that that's over, yeah, there's gonna be a lot more pressure for them to ramp it up a little bit. I think theoretically casting is still going on. If you want to try out, if you just feel like it'd be fun to do it, you probably still have a little time to record it and send it in. Now they're getting close to the end. My guess would be they probably have 50, 40 people identified that could be on that show, and it's probably to the point where they're starting to trim them down. But having said that, I have a feeling every season there is probably one or two people at the very end of that casting call that they just happen to see in the very last second. They say, "Oh my God, this is the little key to the whole puzzle. This is the person that's going to tie all these different little groups together. We've got to have that last person." As much as they want to have it all figured out in the very beginning, I just don't think they ever do until that last little bit. Even little things like during my season, do y'all know Christy Murphy was an alternate, right? She was not supposed to be on the show. Someone else, I heard different reasons about why she left, but maybe talked a little more than she should have. Other people revealed that she maybe was going to be on the show. She got pulled. Christy got brought in. Last minute thing. I know Nicole had sent in her video, did her finals casting really late in the season as well. So you never know what's going to happen. But yeah, that's a long answer to a very short response of, I don't know what's going on yet with Big Brother, but we're getting closer, right? It's only a month and a half or so around the corner. Did y'all watch Big Brother Canada? I don't want to, it's tough. I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hadn't heard the results yet, but I figure it's been almost a week. It is a finale. Those of you who are interested in it probably know the results. Those of you who don't know the results probably don't care so much about it. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about it. If you don't want to know spoilers, plug your ears for, I don't know, about 2 or 3 minutes. That's all it'll take. But they had the finale last week, and the winner, Ty. Yeah, he was kind of my pick. If y'all remember, I said Ty and Claudia in the very beginning were kind of the top two that I thought would do well, that maybe I was cheering for and everything. I don't dislike it. I wasn't cheering for him as much towards the end of the season. I was cheering for Daniel C. I really wanted Daniel C to go a little bit further. I mean, he made top 4 and our top 3. So he was so close. But I was cheering for Daniel C. Didn't quite make it. But I saw a lot of similarities between this season of Big Brother Canada and my season of Big Brother. I mean, you think about it, you ended up in the finale of two people that were in a pseudo showmance. I don't think Claudia and Ty really are even calling it that, but they'd had a little kissing going on and seemed a little tight with one another. So a little bit of a showmance there, a little bit of a showmance during my season. The person who won it was just a comp beast who just won comp after comp after comp and really saved themselves. So Ty, a little bit like Mickey. I'm not sure at the end of the season that he's necessarily the absolute most liked person from that cast. And Mickey certainly probably wasn't from our season either. So I saw a lot of similarities between the two seasons in terms of the way things played out and everything. But I gotta say, I saw some people saying that not their favorite season and all that. I kind of liked it. I liked it. Here's the other thing. I liked it more in the second half than I did in the first half. And I've heard a lot of people talk about that for our season as well, that the post-jury was much better than the pre-jury. I agree with that. Yeah, I felt like my rear end was on the line every single week in the first half of the season. But yeah, they had some self-evictions and things like that. Once they got past all that, I enjoyed the latter half of this season. Now, the big thing is there going to be a Big Brother Canada 12? Because they cut the live feeds. I don't get the feeling there was as much positive response to this season as maybe they had in other seasons. I think there will be, but there just seems to be some rumblings that maybe people aren't as into it. The big key to that, after Big Brother Canada was over, I didn't see a lot of stuff on Twitter or Instagram, people talking about the show, the winners, the results. It just was kind of radio silence. That is never a good sign in this day and age when you don't have the social media trending stuff going on with the show. So I don't know. We'll see. But we'll deal with that next winter. Because right now we got Big Brother USA coming up, and yeah, I'm ready for it. As are y'all, I'm sure. I'm getting my sleep now. All right, Brian saying, all right, live voting tonight for The Voice. Let's go, Sorrel. Absolutely. Oh, I love watching Sorrel perform. As I said last week, I look forward to them performing, just wondering what song they're going to sing from week to week. So, yeah, they're doing great so far. I think they could win the whole thing. If they aren't there on finale night, at least I'm gonna be shocked. There's some good singers on The Voice, and so yeah, we'll see. But yeah, they're getting my votes absolutely. All right, Ma saying, who are you rooting for in American Idol? All right, Ma, I don't want you to get upset with me, but I will say this: I have not watched American Idol as much as I've been watching The Voice. Man, we used to watch American Idol every single season, but since it made it switch from Fox to, is it ABC? Since it made it switch, I haven't watched it as much. If it's on and I see it on, I'll watch it, but I don't religiously watch it and keep up with all the performers and all that. So I don't know. I have no clue. That's it's probably one of those. I'll just watch at the very end and see who wins amongst the best. My favorite part of the old days of American Idol wasn't always the ones who were the best, but some of the people who thought they were good. I don't know. I don't know if they truly thought, or they went in knowing that, hey, what are you going to do? I know I'm a bad singer, but hey, it's still good on TV. Y'all remember William Hung, Shibang, Shebang? Some of the people that were just not the best singers in the world, but it didn't stop them from going on that show and trying out, and more power to them for that. If I'd been around there, I don't know that I would have waited in line for 10 hours or whatever to try out just to be humiliated by the people laughing at me. But beyond the waiting time, I would have gone in and tried out, and they would have booted me pretty quick. I can't imagine Katy Perry and Keith Urban them saying, "Yeah, come on in, Cliff." And people have told me before I have a good voice for singing in the shower, and that's not necessarily a compliment. All right, Zachary Weiss saying, howdy, my fantasy survivor partner friend. Yeah, Zach and I are playing in a fantasy survivor league, and he's in first, I'm in second, so I feel like we're doing all right. Been an interesting season so far. Not my favorite because too many twists, but hard to believe next week is a finale. It's gone quick here at the end. I got to say, and I've said this before on here, that I'm not a huge fan of so many twists that you can't keep track of them. I kind of like just having the occasional immunity idol sitting out there. Maybe you have one extra twist throughout the season, but I can't ever from week to week keep track of who has an idol, who has a fake idol, who has an advantage, who can steal a vote, who gets to play shot in the dark. You know, they've done that shot in the dark for 4 or 5 seasons now, it seems like, maybe even a little bit longer than that. It just doesn't have that much effect in the game, right? It's only been used half a dozen times, it seems like. Is there maybe one time where it actually had effect? I don't even know if it's had one time. They could get rid of shot in the dark. I think they could go old school, get rid of some of these twists as well. So I agree with you on that, Zach. But what I do like about this season, I love the cast. I look so looking forward to meeting some of these cast members, castmates. They're a lot of fun. The people that are left, man, fantastic. Last week, what an episode. Now, I did say that as great a player as I thought Danny was, I just thought he was too big a target and would be hard pressed to make it to the very end. And spoiler alert, I guess I need to say, but yeah, the biggest shock maybe last week wasn't who went home, but the fact that who saved who with an immunity idol. And for those of you who have watched, just give me a minute and then come back. Carolyn playing an idol to save Carson. So incredibly cool because Carson, I feel like he understands this game so well. He's won competitions, just such a great player. No one gives Carolyn credit at all. They just discount everything she does. And yet she makes moves like that to protect herself. Carson now owes her. Now, whether there'll be pays, he'll pay that back in kind, or how the rest of, the next episode or two work out, I don't know, but he wouldn't be still in the game if it wasn't for Carolyn. I hope he remembers that. If maybe she makes it to the end and he doesn't, we'll see. People don't give her enough credit, but I think it goes to show You can win all the competitions that in the world, but you still have to have a good social game, and you still have to have just a little bit of luck to survive from week to week. Because, did Carolyn play that because he was so tight with her? Yeah, I think Carson did a lot of the groundwork to develop the relationship and preserve the relationship with Carolyn that caused her to use it on him. But there's also just a lot of luck involved in which comp occurs when, and who finds a side, especially with all these twists out there, who has an idol, who doesn't, and all. I've enjoyed this season, though. I gotta say, it's been a good one. This has maybe been my favorite season. I like Gabler winning last season, even though there were some people who didn't seem too happy with that. I think he deserved it, but all in all, this season, maybe one of my favorites over the last 4 or 5 seasons combined, just from a cast standpoint. All right. What else do we have on here? Mark is saying, is it still on? Is it still on for next week with your brother? I think it's going to be great. Yes, indeed. Y'all, I was going to make the announcement. I'll go ahead and bump it up. I was going to do it at the end of the episode, but I will do it now. I talked to Bowie. I talked to him again this afternoon. Said, are you sure? Because I know you're a busy guy. You good coming on this show and facing all the Cliff Notes live folks and answering all kinds of questions. And he said, absolutely. So yeah, next week, May 22nd, my younger brother, Bowie, is 13 years younger than I am. So there's a big age difference. But having said that, Bowie was on the show 20 years before I was on reality TV. So isn't that weird? But yeah, so Bowie's going to come on the show next week. We'll get him on live. So we'll be side by side. Maybe I'll put him in a little spot up in the corner. I'll take the majority screen. We'll split up 50-50. But yeah, Bowie's going to be on the show. And we talked a little bit about, I think we're going to talk a little bit about comparing what it was like for me to be doing my show versus when he did his show 20 years ago. The fact that he did a show that was taped and then he was home watching it play out every week versus me doing a show that was basically live playing on the show while I was still inside the house. We'll talk about his casting versus my casting, his postseason versus my postseason. They didn't have social media back then. And I'm sure there'll be a few stories that come up about growing up in the Hogg household. I don't know how my parents survived having Bowie and I and my other 2 brothers all in the house. 4 brothers, no sisters, just 4 brothers. And I'm sure we were all my parents could handle it. Probably a good thing they had us spaced out. Because if we were all within a couple of years of each other, that may have been a little too much for them. But yeah, so Bowie's going to be on. Starts at 7. I don't know if we'll have a hard stop at 8. We may go a little bit longer. We're going to play it by ear because he talks like I do, which means he tends to talk for extended periods of time. I don't know if we can fit all of it in an hour. We'll see. It's going to be very much an open forum. We'll talk when we get there. So y'all get y'all's questions ready. Nothing off the table. Pretty much nothing off the table. I can't think of it. Y'all know me. I will answer anything. So we'll do that. And we may even get his daughters in to give the hard-pressed questions as well. It's going to be fun, though. I'll put a little teaser on there, a little notification later in the week. But yeah, Bowie's going to be coming on the show and talk about him getting fired by President Trump. Not a lot of people could say that. A few, but yeah, he was one of the first. All right, Cindy Hire saying, how long after you were at the casting call for your season did you hear back from them? Well, it's interesting, Cindy, because it's not a one-time thing and then you're done. There was constant communication. That's just the way they do it. There was, I did my casting call February 23rd, I think it was. Went out to LA for a week, into March kind of period, so about a month later. But then between March and when they snagged me in like June 13th or whatever it was, it's a long time. April, May, June, 3 months of sitting around saying, am I going to be on the show? Am I not going to be on the show? It's a lot of time to try to really dream about what it would be like, but also kind of stop yourself and say, don't get too worked up because it's not probably going to work out. It's fun, but what are the chances you actually get on the show? So 3 months of me going back and forth like that. But during that 3 months, it's not as though they suddenly just said, all right, Cliff, we'll be back in touch in 3 months. No, it was a constant thing about, we need more pictures of it. We need more information about this. As you can imagine, they do all kinds of background checks in this day and age. So I was having to fill out all kinds of information for that. And so there's a lot of information throughout the entire sequence where where they're getting back in touch with you. Now, having said that, I also know that there's some people who did casting calls or who sent in videos very early in the process, and they didn't hear anything until like May. So for some people, it was 2 or 3 months of just zero communication. And then just suddenly out of the blue, I think they got a phone call. They're doing everything in the span of just a few weeks and really crunching stuff out. So when you get that first contact, I think can vary from person to person, depending on the situations and all that. But once they kind of have you on the radar, there's a lot of stuff that's going back and forth. And it's funny because they're so good. They've done this for so long. I got a lot of calls saying, all right, Cliff, just to let you know, you're still in the running, but also to let you know that you haven't been picked yet. There's still a lot of people and there's a possibility, but don't think that you're on yet. We're still evaluating. There's still decisions being made. So you're just a possibility. Okay. You say that every time. I get it, and I believe it. So they did a good job of that. But yeah, they stayed in touch throughout, asking for this and that. So yeah, it was a crazy 3 or 4 months sitting there wondering if it was going to happen or not. All right, REM. Say, hi, REM. How are you doing? Eurovision background behind you, or the X-Files? Well, now that you mentioned it, the X-Files or Close Encounters, something like that, right? I kind of remember that still. I love that movie. Oh yeah, John, tomorrow's classic movie day. I was gonna mention that. It's funny how this segues. Classic movies. I hadn't even thought of Close Encounters of the Third Kind until you mentioned that. Is that one of my favorite classics? Maybe. I really like the music for it. My classic movies that were a little bit more war related. Cool Hand Luke, The Great Escape, The Alamo, every version that's ever been done. Yeah, I'm Texan, so The Alamo. One of my favorites that a lot of y'all probably haven't heard of is The Vikings, with Kirk Douglas, Tony Curtis, a bunch of Vikings. One guy gets his hand cut off. Classic. I love The Vikings. Odin. I still know the theme song from it. So yeah, classic movie days tomorrow. But yeah, getting back to your question, no, not the X-Files, not Close Encounters. It is indeed Eurovision. And the reason I say that, thank you, Arian, for asking a question, because I would have forgotten about it otherwise. The reason I put it down there, they had the Eurovision 2023 finals this weekend, the semifinals. I think they had 37 acts performing, from one act from every country in Europe, and they have a few. I think Australia maybe has an entry in Israel. So there's a few places outside Europe that does as well, but pretty much a European-based song contest. I love me some Eurovision, but I got to say, the only thing harder than watching Big Brother Canada in the United States is watching Eurovision. I don't know why they are so intent on not letting us as Americans watch it. Maybe they think we'll then call in and vote and screw up the votes or something. But I've looked everywhere. If any of y'all have a link that you know, let me know, because YouTube doesn't have it. I've gone out to all kinds of questionable sites and I finally ended up watching a lot of Eurovision on YouTube. And if you do a search for YouTube, Eurovision 2023 semifinal 1, I think is, if you do a search for that, someone recorded the first semifinal, just a camera pointed to their TV set. The TV set was slightly tilted. Sound isn't fantastic. You can see pictures of the family up on the walls behind them and everything else. So it's like you're sitting in their living room watching Eurovision. But that's all I could find. So I watched some of the songs with that. You can go out to YouTube and you can actually watch the official music videos for all of these acts. It is incredible. They are so over the top. You watch The Voice, American Idol. It's all about the music. It's all about the singer. Now, they may have backgrounds and, sparkle lights and things like that, but they don't have the stage show like you have at Eurovision. It is incredible. And some of these acts, it's like Weird Al Yankovic's doing Eurovision or something. They are so off the wall, such weird shows or acts, and it just makes me wonder how did these get forward? But if you want to see what's about, Will Ferrell, Eurovision, Fire Song, the movie, he does a spoof on Eurovision, but really, It's pretty much the way the actual song contest takes place. Will Ferrell sings everything in there. One of my favorite movies. I'm not gonna call it a classic movie, but if you haven't watched Will Ferrell and Euro Song Contest, watch it. So yeah, that's my background. I had fun watching that over the weekend. All right, Kiki is saying I made chocolate chip cookies. Well, I'm coming over your house. Well, let's have a little cook off. We'll see. And Maureen Carroll saying, what about the cookies Ovi made? Ovi made some great cookies. But I got to say, I felt so bad for Ovi because he wanted to fix cookies in the very beginning. He knew how to do it. And people that didn't have a clue about baking kept trying to correct him, saying, oh, this doesn't have to be warm, Ovi, or you don't have to add this much salt. And they kept trying to mess with his recipe. And he let them do it to some degree. And as a result, the first batch of cookies he made, not that good. And then they all blamed Ovi. Oh, Ovi said he was a good cookie maker. Those weren't even very good cookies. Well, yeah, it's because y'all screwed with his recipe and wouldn't let him cook in peace. So, yeah, I felt bad for Ovi. He knew what he was doing, and no one would let him do it. He had a hard time the first couple of weeks in there. But yeah, Ovi did that. Later in the season, we had that little contest. We had to run around, see what differences were in the house. We run downstairs. There's Ovi standing in the kitchen with a plate of cookies. I so wanted to come up to Ovi and just say, all right, I know you know all kinds of stuff. Give me the scoop. Just whisper in my ear. But he couldn't. He told me later. He told me a few weeks ago. He was warned. They said, Ovi, you cannot say anything while you're in there. If you do, it's major issues. Do not say a word. And they were watching him the whole time. So yeah, he couldn't do anything. But he had great cookies then. Ovi knows what he's doing. People just had to leave him alone in there, and he would have. I wish he'd stay a little bit longer because I have a feeling there are people in that house that did not have a clue how to cook food. Now there are a few, like Tommy was pretty good with some of the Italian pastas and all that, but Ovi could have taken care of us in that house. I think Ovi would have done just fine with some of his baking and such while he's in there, but wasn't to be. We lost. I hated losing Ovi. If Ovi had stayed in that house longer, Ovi and Nicole and myself would have had. I don't know if we would have won or not, but we would have had so much fun going forward. And yeah, it would have been fellowship of the zing. It would have been great. All right, the werewolf mask. What a login ID. Hey, werewolf mask. Do you think regular MTV will soon not exist, and how do you think it'll affect the challenge? I don't know. They just got through canceling MTV News, which, in all honesty, I didn't know they were still doing it. But I was around when MTV first came out. I remember I was in high school, and we started hearing this story that, there's a channel that shows nothing but music all day long. And we were so jealous. And I remember at the time, there were some neighborhoods that had the cable service that let you get MTV, and others didn't have it because they were just then starting cable. So the people that had the MTV, everyone was going over to their house to watch the channel. Our neighborhood finally got it. I finally convinced my parents to let us get cable just so we could get MTV. I remember the very first concert I ever watched on MTV was The Who. Yeah, they were on there, a big night, Saturday night concert, and a lot of people came over and we watched it and all that. But yeah, so I remember the original MTV, Kurt Loder, Martha Quinn, JJ, all of them. I can't remember the last few, but yeah, I'm a huge MTV fan. And now I haven't watched it in forever, except to watch the challenge. I don't know what's going to happen because on the one hand, you don't have just MTV. You've got MTV, classic MTV. Do they still have VH1? It seems like they've got about 4 or 5 MTV channels possible. But as far as I know, it's just the challenge and ridiculously or whatever, all the ones, the videos of people wrecking. It seems like it's always on. I don't know, because it seems like the challenge is starting to get pushed more and more onto Paramount TV instead of MTV, since MTV is part of Viacom, part of CBS, some kind of relationship there. So I don't know. I feel like MTV is starting to lose some of their ownership of the challenge a little bit, which I think is bad. If I'm MTV, I'm holding on to that as tight as I can because I feel like you get a lot of people watching just because of that. I don't know. With cord cutting coming along, more and more people cutting off their cable and picking kind of a la carte channels, I could see them going away. if they would just go back to playing music videos, God, it was so great watching every song that came out in the 80s would have a music video attached with it. If it wasn't for MTV, you wouldn't have people like Duran Duran. Who else was big back then? I had the Bangles. There were people that did so well because of the videos, more so even than just the music itself. Love the music, but it was more than just the music. Nowadays, I just don't see it the way I used to. But yeah, I don't know. If it isn't for the challenge, I don't really care so much if MTV's on TV or not. So they need to hold on to it. But as I said, I think MTV's starting to lose control. The challenge going on Paramount a little bit. I'll be honest, I don't like it as much on Paramount. I like the true challenge kind of series more so than this kind of world challenge and all that they've had. But we'll see. It may just be some growing pains. All right. Amanda saying, I can't wait to hear about The Apprentice. Yeah, I know. He's got some stories. And REM saying, I want to hear behind the scene tea from Bowie. He's got a little bit of it because, and I don't want to steal his thunder, but I know it was the very first season of that show. And there were some things, some twists, some things they were going to do that they ended up not doing in terms of how they were going to keep score, different things. Again, I don't want to take all his stories, but I know there was some background stuff. And I've heard stories about what happened once you were fired. And so, yeah, I've got the scoop. And he met Trump. And he met Mark Burnett as well, who headed up the series. He can talk about staying in the Trump Towers and where they filmed, and yeah, he's some of the folks there. He's still tight with Omarosa, who was on his season as well. And so, yeah, we'll hear some stories. We'll see how much we can pull out of Bowie. I think it's been long enough. He mentioned to me today it's been 20 years as of this coming up September. Since his season of The Apprentice was on. So I guess at 20 years, the statute of limitations is over. He's probably not so obligated to keep stuff secret. He'll spill all the beans for it. It's going to be fun. We're going to have fun. I'll press him for all of it. All right. Noah Lemon saying, hey, Noah, how are you? Saying, hi, finally able to get on a live show. Well, thank you, Noah. I appreciate it. Absolutely. Glad to be back and ready for the summer. You and me both, brother. I'm so ready for it. I'm ready for it. Just temperatures out there. Go head off to the lake or the water or whatever you got going on. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Little big brother as well is coming up. So yeah, Noah, welcome aboard. I'm glad you can hit the live. I love the folks that watch it on replay as well. But yeah, I like the live. So it makes it a little more fun to interact and answer questions and things like that. So thank you. I appreciate it. All right. Mark and Ma and REM, a few similar comments. Any favorite to win the fire maker on Survivor? I'm pulling for Carson. And then Ma saying, think it'll be Yam Yam versus Carson with Carson losing. I can see that. REM saying Carson versus Yam Yam, Carson, Carolyn, and Jamie, final three, if Heidi doesn't use her idol. See, I keep forgetting that Heidi has an idol out there. There's too many twists. I don't know. I'll say this. I don't think Carolyn does a fire making challenge because if she makes it to that point, I think people grab her and drag her to the final two. I don't think anyone's going to challenge her to make fire. So I don't think it's Carolyn. If it's not her, could it be Yam Yam versus Carson making fire? Possibly. Of course, it depends on who wins that final that final immunity challenge. Who gets to make the decision? I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think. If Carson, for example, was to win the final, who would he send to make fire? I think he'd send Yam Yam. Yam Yam's got to be considered a favorite, maybe, by a lot of people. It seems like everyone likes him. He's been doing a good job about floating back and forth between different groups and all of that. So possibly him. Yam Yam and Carson, I just feel like they're kind of the front runners right now in terms of people, in terms of being able to say, I played my game, I controlled my fate, I controlled a lot of other people's fates. You know, Carson, as much as he prepared puzzles and all that, if he makes it in front of the tribal council, he's got all his speeches prepared, all his bullet points. He's going to present it just the way I probably would as an engineer. He's going to have a point by point listing of why he deserves that game. And it's going to be hard, I think, to argue with a lot of that. So I would be very nervous about having Carson in a final three if I had anything to do with it, which makes me think that there's a possibility he may not make it there, but if he does, I can't imagine someone not sending him to a fire making challenge. I don't know how well he does making fire. I have a feeling he practiced. I have a feeling he practiced a lot. But yeah, I don't think Carolyn makes it there. I think Carson, if he makes it to final three, it's only through a fire making challenge, probably. Beyond that, I don't know. And Heidi, I still don't feel like I know enough of her story. I just don't feel like there's been as much airtime for me to even truly. I don't know that I understand her resume just yet. So she may sneak in. She may be one of those, kind of like Erica from a couple of seasons ago, that comes in there and maybe takes some people by surprise. These last couple of challenges are going to make a huge difference, right? We've got to be getting ready, talking about the same challenges year after year after year. They've got to be getting ready to have that one where the balls roll and you have to move a ball from here to here and keep track and all that, right? They got to have that in the next episode. And who would do well at that? Probably not Carolyn. Carson, I could see doing well. Yam Yam, I don't know. Heidi, I think she'd do pretty well. I don't know. We're going to find out. But I got to say this, and I think I said a couple weeks ago, of everyone left going forward, any one of them wins this thing at the end, I'm fine with it. There's no one left who I would be upset and say, they didn't deserve it. They just got brought along by the coattails and all that. I rode someone else's coattails. Nah, I think everyone that's left has played a good game. I think Carolyn is way underestimated. Doesn't mean I think that she'll win, because the problem is she's underestimated now, but I think she'll be underestimated when it comes to jury as well. But we'll see. But I'm looking forward to meeting them all at some point in the very near future. All right, what else do we have on here? Ma saying, what do you consider classic? Are 90 movies classics, 80s, 70s? Man, and Vicky Stone saying, love the boiled egg scene in Cool Hand Luke. Absolutely. Was it 100 eggs he had to eat in Cool? If you have not watched Cool Hand Luke, watch it. One of my all-time favorites. I don't care if it rains or freezes, as long as I got my dashboard Jesus. Can we get here? It's great. Steve McQueen Steve McQueen. Yes, Steve McQueen, Paul Newman. Sorry. One of my favorites. What do I consider classics? I don't know. I just got through we watched over the weekend About Last Night, the original, with Rob Lowe, Demi Moore. That's my generation. I mean, that came out in 86. I was in college in 86. So that was my timeline. About Last Night. Those are the people I related to. Sharon and I laugh as we graduated from college. We were looking at Rob Lowe and Demi Moore and About Last Night. I was like, oh, well, that's kind of our next step in life. We're out of college now. We're going to have apartments and dealing with all this, everything. So that was us. And now we watch that show and we say, oh God, they look so young. We got a little older over the years, but yeah. So I certainly consider 80s to be classic movies. 90s, there's shows like The Matrix. I consider that to be a classic. So yeah, I don't know. When does the classic? We'll call it year 2000 plus or minus. That was 23 years ago. I think if a movie's more than 20 years old, it's probably considered a classic at this point in time. There were some good ones back then. I mean, when I personally think of classics, I tend sometimes to think more about the movies I watched as a kid. Some of the old sci-fi movies, The Day the Earth Stood Still, or the scary ones like Psycho or The Birds. I got a story to tell about The Birds. I'll do that in a second. The movies from the 60s and the 50s, because that's what I watched as a kid. But yeah, really, I think anything up until the early 2000s is probably a classic as part of this time. Maybe we can say anything that wasn't filmed in high definition that would be considered a classic. For those of you who don't know, the very first classic movie of all time, Wings, at least the first movie that won an Academy Award, had my grandfather in it, who was a stuntman, flew some of the planes and was up in some of the hot air balloons and did some things in that movie. So yeah, we'll go all the way back to 1927 for the first Academy Award classic movie, Wings, and have a connection to that. So I've watched that movie a few times as well, but I like those. Those are the kind that I'll just find when I'm moving around the TV, and next thing you know, I watched pretty much about half of the Planet of the Apes I don't know, there's like 5 movies in there. I watched about half of them over the weekend just because they happen to be on. Been a while since I'd seen Planet of the Apes, Beneath the Planet of the Apes, Charlton Heston, Roddy McDowell. Great. I love science fiction as a kid. So the idea of a world ruled by monkeys was gorillas, orangutans on. It's pretty cool. That really intrigued me. I read the book, I saw all the movies, and I still like them. It's amazing what they did back then before CGI and all these special effects and everything. They still made it work. All right. What else do we have? Populism updates. Oh, what a great login idea. Have you seen Jury Duty? Oh, I love Jury Duty. Absolutely. And Schmigadoon. Schmigadoon, that's the one with Daniel Radcliffe, isn't it? I think so. I have not, but I have been told that it is fantastic. I think my daughter may be the one who told us that. I've had a few people say that's a fantastic series. We need to watch it. So yeah, I will. I have not seen that yet. Jury Duty, we binged because it was so good, and it's worth that. Hilarious. I absolutely love Jury Duty. I wish they'd do more like that. And you can't do too many, or people start realizing that it's kind of a prank type deal. But I liked it. I like the old Joe Schmo and my big fat. What was it? Not big fat Greek wedding. I don't know. There's some other shows similar to that over the years past that were pretty good. I think talking about binging shows and all of that. We binged Jury Duty a couple of weekends ago. This weekend, we binged another show. If y'all haven't seen it, it's on Amazon. So if you've got Amazon Prime, you can watch it. Jack Reacher, and I think it just came out. It's like 8 episodes. It's pretty good. It's it's not going to win any Emmy awards or anything else, but pretty good about a guy, just a big old badass, special forces kind of guy who comes into town and all kinds of things happen around. Next thing you know, he's caught up in the middle of all kinds of murder investigations and all that. And it reminded me a little bit of the old Rambo from years past, where Sylvester Stallone's just this guy coming through town. He just wants to be left alone, and it didn't work out. Next thing you know, he's having to fight people. A little similar to that, although not quite the same. But just a guy who's just no nonsense. We'll just say that. No nonsense guy who gets caught up in all kinds of stuff. We watched that. And we stayed up way too late Saturday night finishing up Jack Reacher. It was good. I absolutely enjoyed it. So you never know what you're going to find on TV these days. All right, REM is saying, why can't the USA and Canada join on Eurovision fun? I wish. I don't even care if they don't give the US an entry. We got our own shows. Fair enough. Y'all, Europe, you do your stuff. I don't even care if I get a chance to vote. Don't let us vote. If it comes from us, you don't want us. There's too many Americans, probably too many Canadians as well. You don't want us influencing the vote or anything. So don't let us vote. Just let us watch it, because it is so much. It is so much fun. It's just, Europe is different in terms of attitudes and all that, but it's just fun watching some of these shows, because I really feel like some countries put in entries that they really want to win, and they're good singers. ABBA won with Waterloo forever ago in the 70s. I mean, you've got some real bands that have come out of Eurovision, serious, good songs. And I think some countries do that. I feel like some countries just say, we're Bavaria. Yeah, I don't want to throw anyone out there. We're Latvia or something. Well, there's no way we're going to get enough votes to ever win this thing. So let's just have fun with it. And that oddball act that we all were amazed when they came out, let's send them. Let's let all these people see what's going on. Because some of the stage effects and the costumes and the songs. There's one song, I think it's from Austria. Who the hell is Egbert? Who the hell is Egbert? I think. And it's just a weird song. There's one called Cha Cha Cha, guy wearing weird clothes. A lot of acts with people wearing very weird clothing. So it's interesting. But because every country, it's a bunch of different countries. And I think the way it works is every country can vote for anyone else, but they can't vote for themselves. So, but I still think there's alliances thing. Last year, the singer from Ukraine won. So there's politics that come into play a little bit as well and all, but the acts are incredible. So that and Will Ferrell, I love it. I absolutely love it. It's fun every year trying to find those things. And you can find the acts on YouTube. You just can't necessarily see it live. All right. Marion's saying, have you thought any more about watching your Big Brother season with us on Monday nights? I hope it's something you can do. Yeah, yeah, and I mentioned before, I'm not sure how I would do it in terms of being able to watch without creating any kind of copyright issues. Because y'all don't want to see me just staring at TV and all you see is my face, and you can't necessarily keep up with what's going on, right? I mean, I wouldn't think so. I think what I'd like to do is maybe reach out to CBS and just say, hey, what are the rules? If I just had like a little 5 minute or 5 minute, if I had a little 5 second clip to show set the scene, who's in the room, who's talking, and then let me maybe watch and talk about what's going on. Maybe there's let me do something like that. I'm not sure, but I don't want to do it all and then have CBS upset, file a copyright issue, and suddenly 30 hours worth of video go away because I showed clips of the show on there. So yeah, I'd love to do it. I think I'd love to do it. It'd be a little stressful on my part, but for y'all, I would be willing to do it. And it'd be fun hearing y'all's questions and me being able to get some thinking about what was going on. I think it'd be a lot of fun to do. I just have to figure out the logistics of how to make it happen. I don't know. I'll still research. I haven't done any more than what we talked about last time. Mark Taylor saying, "Is Bowie an Aggie fan?" Oh yeah, absolutely. And REM saying, "How did Texas A&M get the Aggie name?" All right, we'll I'll save some of the questions for Bowie as far as that goes. But yeah, Bowie went to A&M as well, so I'll leave it at that. Three of the four brothers in my family went to A&M. One of them went to Stephen F. Austin, another school, but he's an Aggie too. But yeah, he is. How did A&M get its name? Because Texas A&M used to stand for Texas Agricultural and Mechanical School. You had the University of Texas, which was all the highfalutin liberal arts and law degrees and medical and all that kind of stuff. That's where all the rich kids went to college. All the farm kids went to Texas A&M and learned to be either farmers, agriculture, or workers, mechanical. And so it was originally Texas A&M, Texas Agricultural and Mechanical College. Then it became university. Then eventually shortened agriculture and mechanical to just A&M. But because it was agricultural, that's where Aggie's agriculture comes from. So yeah, that's where we got in. There's a few other Aggies out there. New Mexico State. I can't remember which one it is. They're the Aggies. There's one or two others out there, but we're the Utah State has Aggies, but we're the Aggies. Yeah, that's how it comes from. Wow, 752. All right, Ma saying it's crazy to watch your grandfather on a movie that's almost a century old. Here's what's crazy about it, and maybe we'll talk about this some other. I know I've talked about it before, but it's been a while. He did that movie and then he had never watched it. Maybe he watched it. He had to watch it when it first came out. He didn't really remember it, or he didn't want to admit to it. I'm sure he watched it when it first came out, but that was back in the day before DVDs and VCRs and all that kind of stuff. So he had not seen the movie in 70 years, 60 years or so. UTA, University of Texas at Arlington, was showing it at a film classics night. And we just happened to see, and this was probably in the late 80s because he passed away in 1990. But late 80s, they were showing it, and we found out, and we said, hey, we're not part of your class, but would it be possible to bring my grandfather? He was in it, but it's been so long. Well, they loved it. They said, absolutely, bring him. We would love to have him in here to watch it. So we actually got to go and watch it on the big screen at this college, and it was fantastic. They wanted to ask him questions about what had happened, the filming, the background, all of that. He was a very private guy. He was in the military. He wasn't one that did a lot of talking. And he said, nah, I'm not talking to anyone. I just want to see it. And so we said, nah, he doesn't want to answer any questions. So they said, that's fine. We'd still love to have him. And so we watched it. It was a lot of fun. He was a wing walker. After he got out of the Army, he flew airplanes. And so he went around for a while doing some barnstorming. He'd be on the biplanes and get on the wing and walk around a little bit. And yeah, he was quite the character. I have a feeling there's a lot of stories about my granddad that I never quite heard all the details of, because he lived a pretty wild life early on in his career. But he was at camp. I want to say it's Camp Maxi Spear down in San Antonio. And that's where they filmed The Wing. So he just happened to be there while they were filming it. They wanted the Army agreed to help him film it. And next thing you know, he's doing a lot of the scenes. So it's pretty cool. Claire, what's the movie called? REM is asking. It's called Wings. Won the Academy Award in 1927. It's a silent movie. So yeah, no talking involved. Obviously black and white and all that. It starred Clara Bow, the It Girl. And so yeah, that was pretty cool as well. But yeah, watch it. You can find it out there somewhere. And he's in it. There's some scenes of some guys flying some airplanes and looking up in a hot air balloon, and he's in several of those kind of scenes that involve stunts and all that. It's a lot of aerial stuff for back then. It's incredible. So yeah, that was pretty cool. All right, 7:55. I got one real quick story to tell y'all, and then we'll probably shut it down for the evening. I've told y'all the story about the squirrels in my neighborhood, myself not getting along too well, right? They're getting up in the attic. I finally chased them out of the house. We got that taken care of. I had to deal with the bees that got into our house. Got a beekeeper out, cleaned out where they were starting to get in, got the bees resolved. Feeling good with that. Nature just doesn't like old Cliff Hogg, apparently, because this past week I had a new battle against Mother Nature, and it has to do with birds. Talking about classic movies, Tippi Hedren, Alfred Hitchcock, The Birds. That's what I felt like last week. It's out in our front yard. It's warming up, so it's getting to be summertime. So I said, all right, time to prune some of the trees in the front yard. So I'm up there with a little mini chainsaw. I'm cutting a bunch of branches, trying to trim up trees, things like that. Well, unfortunately, one of the branches I started to cut, I didn't realize that it was a branch right next to a bird's nest. I didn't know. I mean, how could I tell? As I start cutting this branch, the vibrations and the movement and everything alerted the birds in this bird's nest. Next thing I know, this bird nest is probably about 3 feet from me. All the birds from this bird nest are flying out, flying right past me, and they're chirping the whole way. They are not happy because they think that I'm cutting down their nest, which I didn't want to do. And I was really happy to find out that it wasn't their branch, but the branch next to it that I actually cut. Now I'm leaving it alone because I like birds. These weren't just any bird. These weren't just mockingbirds or crows or something that looks scary. Not vultures or buzzards. Something that you're like, I don't want you in my house anyway. These are red robins. These are like the most beautiful red-breasted robins, friendly birds. And they don't like me anymore. I'm now the enemy in our neighborhood as far as red robins go, because they're all flying around. They start dive bombing me, trying to get me away from this nest. I have to run inside the house to avoid them. Sharon's laughing because I'm saying the birds chase me in there. The birds, yeah, the birds are everywhere. So I run inside. I wait about 30 minutes. Say, all right, I'm going to go try to at least pick up the limbs already cut, move the ladder, things like that. I open the door. There's one red robin, maybe 10 feet from the front door, staring at me, standing guard, watching me. And it's like, really? And as soon as I open the door, Jeep, 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 just start warning everyone else. So I told Sharon, I said, all right, well, I'm going to see if he'll just leave me alone if I walk real slow. So I walk very nice and slow off our porch, take a ride on a little sidewalk we've got. Well, then I realized there's a little baby bird, little baby robin that's sitting there on the sidewalk. So maybe the bird was watching that bird more than it was watching me. But when that bird sees me turn the corner, it takes off. It's a baby bird, but fortunately it's big enough it can fly because it flies off as well. I would have felt horrible if they were little babies in there. We'd have them in the house taken care of, I guarantee, if that was the case. But it wasn't the case. They were older than that. It flies off. But as it flies off, all of a sudden, this one bird is giving the warning to everyone else. Next thing I know, I've got about a dozen of these red robins in all the trees surrounding me. They're all facing me, and they're all cheep, 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 cheep. So bad that Sharon can hear them from inside the house, opens the door about this much of a crack. It says, Cliff, you got to come inside. They're too loud. And just as I turn around, here they come dive bombing again, swooping in. I'm doing this, running back into the house to get away from the red robins. So that was it for the evening. Later, once it was dark, I was able to go out and move a ladder and a few things I had to, and they left me alone. Next morning, I go out to take the trash. They are still out there watching me. It took a full 36 hours or so before they finally decided that they had sufficient victory over me, that I was sufficiently cowered into the house that they felt it was okay to call off the guards. Because the last time or two I went out there, they stopped bothering me. But yeah, I didn't mean to do it. I didn't see the nest, or I would have left it alone. But yeah, I'm in trouble if the bees and the squirrels and the robins ever get together and form a coalition. I'm just gonna have to move into the Big Brother house permanently because I ain't living here. I like nature. I don't know why it works out that way, but work out it does. All right, guys, let's see what else. Brian saying a bird flew into our house last week, had a hard time getting it out. Finally opened a window and it flew out. As a kid, we had our dog grab a bird from out in the backyard, drug it into the house, was very proud that he had caught this bird, set it down at my feet. Next thing you know, the bird's up flying around everywhere. My mom's got a broom trying to chase it out. My brother and I both run over with our baseball gloves. We're trying to catch this bird. And yeah, I think the same thing happened. We opened the back door and the bird wanted out even more so than we wanted it out. It's just a matter of letting it find the exit. And it finally did. I'm not a huge bird fan, but I don't have anything against them. But yeah, not like Nicole Anthony during my season. She hated birds. She couldn't stand the birds. She would have had a fit if she was out there where I was. She would just been playing dead on the ground or something, and leaving me to my own devices. It was scary. Yeah, I thought I was getting ready to be a horror movie, a whole new kind of horror movie for the new generation. All right, guys, 8:00. We're going to call it good at this point in time. Again, I'll put out some reminders over the next few days, but Bowie next week, starting at 7. Don't know when we may still try to end at 7, but 8. But if not, we'll go a little bit longer. But we're going to have Bowie on talking about The Apprentice, Big Brother, life in the hog household, and all that. It's going to be a lot of fun. If y'all haven't done so already, as I mentioned in the beginning, please consider going out, signing up for my YouTube channel. Turn on notifications. You can hit the thumbs up. That's always appreciated as well. Guys, y'all have a fantastic rest of the week. Middle of May. It's coming quick. Enjoy every bit of it. For those of you who are graduating or you have friends and family graduating, congratulations. Go out and conquer the world. I'm going to be cheering y'all on every step of the way. I will be back next Monday. We're going to have all kinds of fun next Monday, so I'm looking forward to it. Guys, have a great one. SKD 143. Vote Sorrell on The Voice. Ryan, we got you covered. Vote Sorrell on The Voice. We want to see him go all the way. Guys, y'all have a great one. SKD 143. Cheers, my friends.